Hello friends, welcome to C# Intermediate to Advanced tutorial. Now we are starting a new sub-series on C# threading. So here also we will look at thread synchronization. This time we will look at ReaderWriterLock class and how it can enable read and write locks. In this video, we will learn the basics of ReaderWriterLock and how it can be used in thread synchronization. .NET provides ReaderWriterLock class, which is suitable for one writer and multiple readers. So here we are talking about the shared resource. When there is a shared resource that can be shared between multiple threads, and in that multiple threads there will be some readers as well as writers. So this ReaderWriterLock is suitable for one writer and multiple reader situation. Reader can lock the resource via acquire reader lock function, and once it used with the resource, it can release it via release reader lock. So acquire reader lock, it will lock the resource, and release reader lock will release the resource. And here the lock type will be the reader lock. A writer can lock the resource via acquire writer lock, and it can release it via release writer lock. So the function names are equal, just there will be a keyword reader here, and here it will be writer. So that means that there are lock type. When a lock is acquired by reader lock, we can call it as a read lock, and when it is acquired by the writer lock, or when you make a call to acquire writer lock, we can call that resource is locked by write lock. When reader got a lock, or when the lock is a reader lock, other reader threads can acquire the lock. That means other reader threads can enter the resource and it can read the resource, but writer thread will wait for lock release. That means writer thread cannot acquire the lock. Let's state that this is the resource. Here let's talk about the lock, and let's state that lock is a reader lock. Let's state there is a reader thread. We will name it as R1. R1 enters the resource and locked it. So when it is locked, other reader thread R2, it can come and access the resource. It can also enter and use the lock. But when there is a writer thread, it will get blocked here, and it cannot access the lock, and it will wait for the lock to release. So once lock is released, then writer thread can acquire the lock. That means when here in this situation, if you see, there is a reader lock and reader 1 exited, it released the lock, but still there is a reader 2. Since reader 2 is still using the resource, the lock will not get released, so it will be still in locked state, and writer thread still waits. And let's state R2 also finished the task. So since nobody is using this resource and both reader thread quit here, writer can acquire the lock. So reader lock is meant to multiple reader. So when one reader acquired the lock, the other reader thread can also enter and make use of the resource. But a writer thread, when it is trying to acquire the lock, it will wait when some readers are already reading it. Alright, that's the case with read lock. Here, let's state that when a writer thread acquired the lock using acquire writer lock, all other threads should wait for the lock to be released. All other thread in the sense here we can consider both reader as well as writer. Once again, let's state there is a shared resource. Let's state that there is a writer thread and it is using the resource. So it acquired the writer lock, and if there are reader threads, they will get blocked, and if there are two reader threads, both will get blocked till lock get released. So once writer thread finished using the resource, reader thread can get inside. So here definitely whether it is R1 or R2, if it acquires acquire reader lock, R2 also will enter. Why? Because it's a read lock, right? Because readers are accessing it, or readers are accessing the lock, so they can get in and R2 also get in. Or if R2 first got in, then R1 also will get in, because the lock is a reader lock. But if some other writer thread is coming, that will wait. So the scenario goes like this. So simply reader thread or acquire reader lock, multiple reader can use the resource, writer will wait, and when the lock is done by the writer thread using acquire writer lock, none of the thread can enter until writer finishes it. So when resource is under modification, nobody can enter till the modification get completed. But when it is a read-only stuff, then no modification can be done, but multiple read can happen. So that's what the concept behind this. A reader thread can acquire a write lock by calling upgrade to writer lock. So a reader thread is having less secured on the resource. Why? Because reader thread can allow other reader threads, only writer thread will get blocked, right? But if a reader thread, when it is doing some task and when it met certain condition, and if it wants to lock the resource for other readers also, then it can make use of upgrade to writer lock. That means the lock, reader lock, will get upgraded to writer lock. So after the task ends, a specific critical situation ends, the reader thread can come back, it can come back to reader lock, or from writer lock it can downgrade to reader lock by making call to downgrade from writer lock. So from reader lock you can increase the locking capability by upgrading to writer lock, and then you can come back to the read lock by calling downgrade from writer lock. The sequence will be like this. So if reader thread acquired the lock using acquire reader lock, then we will be in read lock mode. Then reader thread is finding some critical situation, then it is upgrading to write lock. That means no other thread can climb the lock. Then after finishing the critical task, reader thread can go to downgrade from a writer lock. So the mode is writer lock here, right? By calling downgrade from writer lock, it can come back to read lock mode. And once it is releases the reader lock, because at present we are in reader lock, right? Once it releases the reader lock, there will be no lock. That means the resource is free. Any thread can acquire the lock. So in this video we are going to learn reader lock as well as ReaderWriterLock, and I am leaving it to our own exploration, upgrading and downgrading the locks. In this sub-series, we will explore acquire ReaderWriterLock, release ReaderWriterLock, as well as acquire ReaderWriterLock and release ReaderWriterLock. So there is no demo here. Thank you for watching. Bye.